Now, I am going to try to address a very big problem in some of this New Age type spirituality, this New Age type of understanding of the spirituality, and I want to make it very, very clear that I am not at all saying that there isn't a New Age or that a New Age isn't coming. There's absolutely a New Age that's going to take place, and there's definitely some things that are going to happen that if I just said that they were going to happen, you would laugh at me. You would think I was a complete joke. You would probably leave this channel immediately. But because I know it's true, I do my best to keep my mouth shut about it, because not everyone can handle the truth. But I would like to suggest that a lot of people, when they meditate and they calm their mind, and their mind is real calm, and I know that they do this out of love. I'm probably going to be very unpopular by saying this. They are not really performing meditation, but a mere concentration technique. And emptying the mind is probably, if you're not advanced, even if you are advanced, it's probably one of the most dangerous things you can do, because it's like leaving the front door open for any consciousness to come in and say things. And a lot of these consciousnesses we think are of the higher realms and of the higher consciousnesses, but are of the lower realms and the lower consciousnesses. There are people such as John St. Julian, who has a lot of very good information on his channel, but his information is off by just enough that it actually becomes dangerous, because he talks about these people from the 4th and 5th and 6th and the 12th dimension, and he says that we're in the 3rd dimension, and the evil spirits and the demons are fighting good guys in the 4th dimension, and God is above the 5th dimension, and all this type of nonsense. But I would like to suggest, I'd like to make a very clear statement. You cannot come from a dimension. All things, including the atoms that make up all things, have to exist in at least 7 dimensions. No one comes from a dimension. We already have 7 dimensions. Those dimensions are the width, the length, the height, which my master, Dr. George King, is his name. I've never mentioned that name on this platform, but I just did. There's the width, the length, the height, time, which a lot of people are going to say time don't exist, so it can't be a dimension. All dimensions are measurements in our mind, because after time comes motion, and motion is what allows things to move, and after that is mind, which is also a dimension, which allows all these things into, to perform. And the highest dimension is will, which is even above the material, complex mind concept of mind. It is above that. It's the supreme. A lot of people say that if someone as complex as God exists, then who created God? Because the more complex something is, the more it would have to be created. I want to make something very, very clear. God's not complex in the sense we think, but rather God is the prime source of all things, the prime source of all that is complex. God is the simplest thing, and yet in being the simplest thing is the most complex thing. That's what a lot of people get wrong. And what they also get wrong is that people cannot just come directly into contact with the absolute. Anyone who claims that they are coming directly in contact with the absolute knows nothing about the spiritual hierarchy. They know nothing about the laws of karma. They do not understand how these things work whatsoever. And I have an extract from Dr. King that warns against this idea of believing people who come from the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension and the sixth dimension. These are lower intelligences from lower frequencies, not dimensions. There's a big difference. It makes no sense to call this the third dimension when there is no second, first, or first dimension, because it's all one. All 7 dimensions exist simultaneously, but they exist on different frequencies. And believe it or not, some frequencies are more physical than this one. Some are slightly more mental, but still physical. And we're going to hear it from the Master himself.
By incorrect information given by lower intelligences. Well, I can go on and on and on and on and on forever about this. You know what Aetherius says? Aetherius has given a little clue. He's given many clues on his great talk about discrimination. I have cost myself maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars by talking about discrimination in the way I have from coast to coast in this country, because people don't want to hear it. They don't like to hear it. They want to hear me tell them lies and say, all the stuff you read is true. Well, I never will say this because it isn't true. So, incorrect information is given by the lower intelligences. By the clever intelligences, but nevertheless the wicked ones. Some of you have seen demonstrations of this. Some of you have read supposed messages from other planets where they talk about we are of the fourth dimension, for instance. And you've been told to tear some of those books up and throw them away. Whether everything else is right in them or not, don't take a chance. Because no space intelligence has ever made that statement to Earth. Not ever. I know. Such a statement would be made by a lower intelligence who was giving himself the name of such and such a spaceman. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You have read messages, I'm sure, purporting to come from this master, that master, and the other master, and even the basic occultism in those messages isn't right. It doesn't fit in with the pattern of the known ancient wisdom. Never mind anything else, it doesn't even recognize Buddha, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Upanishads, Confucius and Lao Tse. But he talks a lot of gooey, sticky nonsense about Jesus, which isn't true anyway. You've read these things, and you've seen the signatures on the bottom of some great master. This is a lower intelligence, but in a very, very subtle, very, very difficult to break form. And the occult circles of America are flooded with such dangerous, extremely dangerous literature.
So you heard it directly from the source of this information. There's concentration, which is what most people refer to as meditation. Then comes contemplation. Contemplation is when you sort of allow things to come into your mind. And I don't really know how to explain it in the best way. You're just going to have to go to the source. Aetherius.org is where it comes from. Then you go to meditation, which is samadhi. The master did not distinct the highest form of meditation from the term meditation. You have to be in a certain very definite state of consciousness in order to get direct contact. People think that they can just meditate. You don't know who is contacting you. It could be your ex-wife who died 5 years ago. You don't know. And this is one of the rare critiques I have against people like John St. Julian and a lot of these other Gnostic people. I got no problem with Gnosticism, but people's take on Gnosticism and thinking that they've come in contact with some great master. You have to be in a very elevated state of consciousness to be able to even tell the difference between genuine contact and false contact. There are different levels of intuition. Many people who think they are seeing through their third eye, it's actually a projection from a lower chakra. The Kundalini has to be risen in its entirety to that chakra in order to see through that chakra. And anyone who tells you otherwise, regardless of whether it comes from a loving heart, does not know what they are talking about. And it's about high time you listen to people who do.